The notification popped up on my phone at exactly 4 p.m. I remember the time because I was holding a glass of white wine that cost more than my first car, standing in the middle of Chen Huayan's penthouse living room, waiting for him to come out of the shower. Your account balance is 0. I blinked. Read it again, 0. The joint account I'd opened with my parents 9 years ago, the one they'd insisted on, so we can help you save, was wiped clean, sent, all 230,000 yuan. My first thought was a bank error. My second thought was a scammer. My third thought made my stomach drop so fast I had to grab the back of the sofa. I opened the transaction history. One single processed at 6 p.m. that same day, to a name I recognized as my mother's second RAI account. The reference field was blank, which was unusual because my mother always filled in that field. Household expenses, groceries, medical. She liked everything neat. This time nothing. The bathroom door opened and Huyen stepped out, towel slung low on his hips, hair still dripping. He was 34 and looked like he'd walked off a billboard for luxury watches, which was exactly what his company sold. His smile was easy practiced, the same one he gave clients and strangers and me on our wedding day. Late night at the office. He came up behind me, draped his arms over my shoulders, and pressed his damp cheek against my hair. You look pale. Bad day. I handed him my phone. He took it, glanced at the screen, and I watched his expression flicker through confusion. And then that particular brand of dismissive amusement that made my teeth ache. He handed the phone back. Your parents. Of course, soft and condescending. Lin. What do you make a month? 30,000. 40? They took 200,000 over the course of almost a decade. That's really a fraction of what this sofa cost. He patted the Italian leather behind me. You're upset over what? A down payment on a used car. I stay red at him. They took my entire savings account. Huayan, every single thing I had before we got married. Before we got married? Exactly. It's old money. He reached for the winey glass I was still holding and took a sip. Old, small money. You're a Chen now. You think my mother worries about a few $100,000 to sap a ring from her father's account? I pulled away from him, so fast the wine sloshed over the rim, and spotted his white marble floor. He didn't notice. He'd already turned back toward the bedroom, pulling the towel off and tossing it onto the chaise lounge. I'm gonna call them, I said. Go ahead, I'll order dinner. You want that Thai place or the Italian? He was already scrolling through his phone, thumbs moving fast, probably texting his assistant about tomorrow's board meeting. I walked into the guest bedroom, our official office, though I'd never once seen him use the desk, and closed the door. My hands were shaking. I dialed my mother first. It rang 6 times and went to voicemail. Same. Third try, my mother picked up. I could hear the television in the background, some period drama with dramatic sword clashing noises. Did you take my money? A pause. The television volume dropped. Juan, what money? The joint account, the one you and Dad are on. 230,000 yuan. Transferred out today at 4:15. Oh, that. Her voice was so casual it made me see stares. Yes, I moved it to another account. Your brother needed a deposit for his engagement. You know how these things work. The girl's family wants 20,000 just for the ceremony, and then there's the apparentment deposit and. Ma, that was my money, my salary from my job. You asked me to put it there for safekeeping when I was 22 and I trusted you. You lived in our house for 6 years after that. She said, the casual tone evaporating. Did you pay rent? Did you pay for food? Did you ever once contribute to the electric bill? 200,000 over 8 years, one. That's not even 2,000 a month. You think rent in this city costs 2,000 a month? You got a beer again. And now you want to complain? I pressed my palm against my forehead. I transferred you 2,000 every month. The account statement says living expenses. I paid that because you asked me to. Like clockwork. That's not the same as rent. Then what was it, Ma? She didn't answer right away. The sword clashing noises resumed in the background. My father must have turned the volume back up. Finally she said, you married a rich man. You live in a penthouse. You eat out every night. Your brother is still at home, looking for work. Trying to find a girl who'll have him. Is it so wrong to help your own flesh and blood? I closed my eyes. The guest bedroom had a view of the river, all glittering lights and pleasure boats. Somewhere out there, people were drinking champagne and celebrating things I couldn't imagine. Did you even ask me? A text message? A single phone call? Would you have said yes? That hit me a rodder than I expected, because the answer was no. I wouldn't have said yes. But that wasn't the point, and I couldn't explain why without sounding like the spoiled daughter she clearly thought I was. You have to give it back, I said. I'll come over tomorrow and we can talk this through, but the money has to. Your father's blood pressure is up. She interrupted. He's been having chest pains. I have to go make his tea. Good night, Juan. She hung up. I stood there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. Then I call Juan. He'd moved to the living room by then. I could hear the television on, some financial news channel. He didn't pick up. I called again, voicemail. His phone just rang and rang until it cut off. Someone was talking to him. I walked out of the guest bedroom and there he was, phone pressed to his AR, laughing at something. His back was to me, so he didn't see me standing in the hallway. I heard him say, "She's not going to do anything, she's a soft person. She'll call her PA rents, they'll fight, she'll cry, and then she'll forget about it. She always does." Then quieter, "You worry too much, I told you. The girl I might ride is the easiest person in the world to manage. She's not like you. She doesn't fight." I walked back into the guest bedroom and closed the door, locked it this time. I don't know how long I sat there on the chaise lounge, staring at my phone. The messages started coming in around 9. First, a photo from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, but my thumb slipped and it opened. The photo was too clear. It was Juan on a yacht, a arm around a woman with long wavy hair and a designer dress. They were both holding champagne flutes. The background was the river. The same glittering lights I could see from my window. They were laughing at something, heads tilted together, close enough to kiss. Below the photo, he told me your marriage was a mistake. I zoomed in on the woman's face. She looked familiar, of course she did. I'd met her twice. Once at the company gala, where she'd shaken my hand and said, "Nian, Juan's new writing director." The second time was at a coffee shop near his office, where I'd watched her slide into the seat across from him and put her hand over his, just for a second. I'd told myself I was being paranoid. I'd told myself she was just a colleague. I scrolled back up to my transaction history and read at the zero balance again. 230,000. Every penny I'd earned from the age of 23 to 31, all of it gone. Somewhere in the living room, Juan was still laughing on the phone. The sound filtered through the door, muffled and distant. I opened my notes app and started typing. Time, amount transferred, my mother's account number, the phone call I just had, the text message from an unknown number, the photo. By the time I finished, my thumb ached and my eyes were dry. I blinked and the screen blurred. I didn't cry, I didn't even feel sad. What I felt was something sharper, colder, like a glass jar lodged behind my ribs. It wasn't grief or anger, it was clarity. I'd spent 31 years being the soft one, the easy one. The daughter who sent money home every month. The wife who didn't ask questions. The woman who smiled at her husband's pretty marketing director and told herself she was just being insecure. Tomorrow I decided I'd call a lawyer. Not the family friend my mother recommended. Not the one who did Juan's corporate contracts. Someone else. Someone who didn't know any of them. I didn't know who yet. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I was done being easy. I unlocked the guest bedroom door at 11. Walked past Juan on the couch where he'd fallen asleep with the TV still on, and let myself out of the penthouse. The elevator took me down 32 floors to the lobby. The doorman gave me a confused look. I was still in my work clothes, a simple gray blouse and black trousers, but he didn't stop me. Outside, the autumn air hit my face like a slap. I walked 3 blocks to a convenience store, bought a bottle of water, and sat on the curb scrolling through lawyer directories until my phone battery dropped to 5%. I was still sitting there when the first light of dawn turned the sky the color of old PA rolls. I didn't cry, I made a list, and at the top of that list, I wrote, a woman I'd seen on a legal podcast once, talking about marital asset division. Her name was Shen Mo, and she'd said, "The moment you let them make you feel small, they've already won." I saved the number. Then I called my best friend Su Qiao, who answered on the second ring, even though it was 6 in the morning, and told her I needed a place to stay. "What happened?" she asked, voice still thick with sleep. I read up at the pinkening sky and thought about 230,000 yuan. I thought about my mother's voice on the phone, My husband's laugh in the hallway. The woman on the yacht with her champagne glass and her perfect hair. I'll tell you later, I said. Just save me a corner of your floor. She was already pulling on clothes. I heard the rustle of fabric through the phone. Lin Wan, you're crying. I touched my cheek, but I was smiling too. A small, crooked, unfamiliar smile. It tasted like relief. I'm not crying, I said. I'm waking up. Sochio's apartment smelled like instant noodles and jasmine tea, which was basically the scent of our entire 20s. She'd Clea read out her second bedroom for me, pushing her boyfriend Zhou Xiang's gaming setup into the living room, and covering the bed with fresh sheets that still had store creases. I'd been there 3 days when I finally got through to Shen Mo's office. The receptionist put me on hold twice before a man's voice came on the line. "Lo, Shen Mo speaking." I almost hung up. I'd expected an assistant, a paralegal, someone to take a message. Instead I got the actual lawyer, and I hadn't read anything to say. He waited. "I have a 3 o'clock opening tomorrow. You want it or not?" "Yes," I said. Then, because my mouth apparently had its own agenda. "How did you know my name?" "Caller ID shows your full name and your company affiliation. Standard office system. You're the marketing director at Bright Sky Media. I handled a non-compete for your former CEO 2 years ago. You were on the witness list but you never got called." I blinked. "You remember that?" "I remember everything. 3 o'clock tomorrow. Bring bank statements, MA certificate, property documents if you have them. And don't bring your husband." He hung up before I could ask how he knew I was Mama Ride. Su Qiao handed me a bowl of noodles while I read at my phone. What kind of lawyer just hangs up on a potential client? The kind who wins cases? I said. The next day, I took a half day from work. My boss, a woman named Director Fang who'd hired me fresh out of college, gave me a knowing look when I submitted the leave request. She'd seen me come in with dark circles under my eyes for 3 days straight. "Family trouble?" she asked, something like that. "One, you know you can talk to me." She pushed a cup of tea across her desk. "I've been a ride 23 years. I've seen every kind of umreal disaster there is. If it's that kind of problem, take all the time you need." I picked up the tea and didn't tell her the half of it. 230,000 yuan. A husband who laughed about me on the phone. A mother who saw my salary as her retirement fund. A brother I hadn't spoken to in 6 months. "Thank you, Director Fang," I said. "I'll be back tomorrow." Shen Mo's office was in a building that didn't look like a law firm. It looked like a very expensive private clinic, all clean lines and muted colors and no signage anywhere. I had to check the directory 3 times before I found the floor. The reception area was empty, no magazines, no water sea, no nervous clients filling out forms, just a single sleek desk with a woman who nodded at me and said, "Go right in. He's expecting you." The door opened onto a room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. The same river I'd seen from Huine's penthouse, but from a different angle. The view was better here, actually, less glamour. Shen Mo sat behind a desk that was almost comically neat. 1 legal pad, 1 pen. No family photos, no coffee. His suit was dark gray, his tie was silver, and his face was the kind of unreadable that made me immediately distrust everything I'd read. "Sit," he sat. He looked at me for a long moment, no preamble, no smock. Then he reached for the legal pad and clicked his pen. "Stri with the money." I told him everything. The joint account my PA rents had insisted on when I got my first real job. The monthly transfers labeled living expenses. The 230,000 yuan my mother had swept out in a single transaction. The phone call where she'd called it my brother's engagement fund. He wrote nothing down, just listened, his pen hovering over the paper like a stopped heartbeat. "Your PA rents house," he said when I finished. "Yes. They inherited money from my grandfather when he died. They bought it outright in Artiani Yishersen, property deed in their names only." "Waz. And you lived there from 22 to 28. I moved out when I got married. Rent, utility bills, groceries." I shook my head. "They asked for the monthly transfer instead, 2,000 yuan every month. They said it was for household contribution." He finally wrote something down, a single word. "Did you ever sign a lease?" "No. It was family." "Family." He repeated the word like it was a new species of bug he'd just discovered. "Your mother called the transfer rent in the phone call." She called it not even 2,000 a month, which isn't real rent in this city. Good. He wrote another word. Now your husband. When did you marry? 3 years ago? Pre-nuptial agreement. No, he didn't want one. He said it would make things transactional. Shenmo's pen stopped moving. He looked up at me for the first time with something other than professional distance. It wasn't Gubba Arth. I don't think Gubba Arth was in his emotional vocabulary, but it was something like grudging respect. Your husband, he's Chen Huayan, the luxury watch group. You know him. I know of him. He set the pen down. Mems Lin, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest with me. Not with the version of yourself you want me to see. Is there any chance your PA rent's transfer was genuinely an emergency, a medical crisis, a pending foreclosure? Something that would justify the amount and the timing. I thought about my mother's voice, calm and unbothered. I thought about the television belay ring in the background. I thought about my brother, who'd posted a photo of himself at a karaoke bar the same night my account went to zero. I said. Then I'm going to ask my forensic accountant to run a full trace. Names, dates, accounts, beneficiaries. If this money went somewhere it wasn't supposed to, we'll find it. He pulled a card from his drawer and slid it across the desk. This is her name and direct line. You'll give her access to every account you've ever touched, including the joint accounts with your husband. Yes. She'll need digital access, login credentials, two-factor authentication codes. If your husband has access to your phone, you'll need to change your passwords before you walk out of this building. I pulled out my phone and started typing. Shen Mo watched me for a moment, then picked up his office phone and dialed an internal number. Come up. He hung up and turned back to me. The accountant. She'll be here in 5 minutes. Before she arrives, I want to ask you one more question, and again, I need the honest answer, not the one that makes you look good. I nodded, my thumbs still tapping on the screen. Do you want to save your marriage? Or do you want to leave it? The question landed between us like a stone dropped into still water. I stopped typing, looked at him. He was watching me with that same flat, like he'd asked me whether I wanted tea or coffee. I don't know, I said. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. He nodded slowly, like that was exactly what he'd expected. Then we'll work on both possibilities. Preparatory for the worst, hope for the best. That's what I do. Zhang Ji arrived 4 minutes later. She was a woman in her late 40s with short silver, streaked hair and the kind of brisk, no-nonsense energy that made me want to sit up straighter. She shook my hand once and immediately started asking questions about bank branches, routing numbers, online banking protocols. I answered everything, gave her passwords, confirmed two-factor codes, signed consent forms that Shen Mo slid in front of me without comment. By the time I left the building, it was dead outside. The river had turned into a ribbon of black and gold, the city lights reflecting off the surface like scattered jewelry. I stood on the sidewalk and called Su Qiao. How'd it go? She asked. He brought in a forensic accountant. What? Someone who traces money, like a detective, but for bank accounts. Damn. I could hear her grinning through the phone. You're really going after them. I thought about that. Going after, it sounded so aggressive, like I was the one attacking. But all I'd done was walk into a lawyer's office and tell the truth. I'm just trying to figure out what happened, I said. Lin Wan, you know what happened. Your PA rent stole your money. Your husband's probably sleeping with his MA recruiting director, and your brother's been living off your salary for years. The only thing you're figuring out is how to make them pay it back. I leaned against the nearest lamppost and watched a couple walk past, our arms around each other, laughing at something on one of their phones. I said, did you know that Huayan used to date someone named Zhou Nian? The line went silent. I know that name, she said slowly. She's the MA marketing director, right? The one you pointed out at the gala. She's the same one, and he told someone, I don't know who, that Mama Rying me was a mistake. Did he say that to you? No, but I have it in a text message. I paused, and that message came with a photo of them together on a yacht. The Su Qiao's voice sharpened. You still have the photo? Yes, then we have evidence. That's good. She hesitated. Are you okay? I looked up at the building I'd just walked out of. Somewhere on the 10th floor, Shen Mo and Zhang Ji were probably already pulling up my financial records, tracing my mother's transfers, building a case I hadn't even fully asked for. I think I will be, I said. I'm not there yet, but I think I'm on the way. When I got back to Su Qiao's apartment, Zhou Ziang had made dinner. He was a sweet guy, soft-spoken, and had the kind of uncomplicated kindness that made me believe in humanity again. He'd set a place for me at the small table and even added extra chili flakes to the noodles, because he remembered I liked spice. Any news, sliding a bolto ard me. The lawyer's accountant is tracing the money. Accountant, he repeated, like forensic accounting. That's a real thing. I thought that was just on TV. It's real, I said, and she's very serious. Su Qiao sat down across from me and pushed a glass of water within reach. What's the timeline? How long before they find something? Zhang Ji said 48 hours for the bank transfers. Longer for the mortgage stuff, if there's any. Mortgage stuff, she leaned for ARD. Your PA rent's house is paid off, you told me that. I read at the noodles swimming in broth. Something Zhang Ji had said before I left was nagging at me. She'd asked about mortgages and loans, and when I'd said my PA rent's house was fully paid, she'd made a note and said, "We'll check anyway." Why would a paid-off house have a mortgage? I asked aloud. Su Qiao and Zhou Ziang exchanged a glance. Maybe it doesn't, Zhou Ziang said ruefully. Or maybe it does, Su Qiao countered. And your PA rents didn't tell you. I pushed my bowl away. The appetite I'd had 5 minutes ago was gone. That night, I lay on the pull-out couch and read at the ceiling, my phone clutched in my hand. Zhang Ji had sent me a text at 6 p.m. A initial check shows 2 accounts linked to your PA rent's names. One with your monthly transfers, one with a Artiani Yishijou mortgage draw. I'll know more by tomorrow afternoon. A mortgage. My PA rents had taken out a mortgage on a paid-off house. Why? My brother wasn't in college yet in Artiani Yishijou. He was BA Rely out of high school, working odd jobs, still living at home. What could possibly have required that much money? And more importantly, where did it go? I opened the photo of Huai An and Zhou Nian on the yacht. Zoomed in on her face, she looked happy. Like she didn't have a single worry in the world. Her dress probably cost more than my monthly salary. Her watch, I squinted at the screen, her watch was a CA Retier. The same one Huai An had bought for his mother on her birthday. I'd been so focused on the affair, I'd almost missed the other possibility. What if the money wasn't just going to my brother's engagement? What if it was going somewhere else entirely? I fell asleep with my phone still in my hand, the photo frozen on the screen, Zhou Nian's smile glowing in the dark like a warning. Zhang Ji called me at by 6 p.m. the next morning. I was still in Su Qiao's pajamas, holding a cold cup of coffee. When my phone buzzed and her name flashed across the screen, I found something, she said. No greeting. No, you need to come in. I was at Shenmo's office by 12:00. Zhang Ji had already set up her laptop on the conference table, her fingers flying across the keyboard like she was composing a symphony. Shenmo sat at the head of the table, coffee in hand, watching her with the patience of a man who'd seen this show many times before. Your PA rents took out a mortgage on their house in June. Artiani Yishijou, Zhang Ji began, without looking up from her screen. 160,000 yuan. The stated purpose was children's education and business working capital. I sat down heavily. But my brother wasn't even in college yet in Artiani Yishijou. Exactly. Your brother enrolled in a vocational program in September. Artiani Arshur, 18 months later. And he never took out any loans, because the tuition was only about 12,000 a year. So where did the rest go? She spun her laptop toward me. On the screen was a transaction ledger, all neat columns and dates. I saw the mortgage draw date. Then I saw the first transfer out, 10,000, sent to an account I didn't recognize. Who's that? I asked, pointing. Keep reading. I scrolled down. More transfers. 15,000, 8,000, 20,000. All going to the same account. All within the first 3 months. Then the transfers changed, smaller amounts, more regular like a salary, and all of them, every single one, labeled with a single name, Zhou Nian. I read at the screen. The air in the room felt thick, like I was breathing through cotton. This is the same Zhou Nian, Zhang Ji said. The account number traces back to her personal checking. I cross-referenced with her company records. Same ID number, same address, same everything. Shenmo set his coffee down. You said your PA rent's house is paid off. It was, I said. My voice sounded far away. They inherited money from my grandfather. My mother told me they bought it cash. Then why would they mortgage it? I looked at the screen again. The dates, the amounts. Zhou Nian's name, over and over, like a signature repeated on a contract. Because someone needed money, I said slowly. And they didn't want to use their own accounts. Zhang Ji nodded. That's what I'm thinking. Your mother's joint account with you. The one she swept your savings from. That was a different channel. But the mortgage money is the big one. 160,000 in principal, plus interest. They've been paying it back with your monthly transfers for years. My monthly transfers were paying off a mortgage used to fund my husband's affair. I said it aloud, and even as the words came out, they felt surreal. Like I was narrating someone else's life. Shen Mo leaned forearm as Lin. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. Did your mother ever mention Zhou Nian to you? Any connection, any explanation? Anything at all that would tie your parents to that woman? No. I shook my head. I never heard her name until she showed up at Huayan's company. She was introduced as a new hire, that's it. But your parents knew her. It looks that way. Shen Mo stood up and walked to the window. The river was gray under the morning sky, choppy with wind. Here's what I think happened. Zhou Nian needed money. For what? We'll find out. She couldn't get it through your husband's company accounts without raising flags. So she used an intermediary, your parents. They mortgaged their house, channeled the funds to her, and then used your monthly contributions to cover the interest payments. Your parents got to help your brother's engagement indirectly. And Zhou Nian got a clean financial trail that didn't tie directly to your husband. But why would my parents agree to that? Because someone asked them to. He turned back to face me. Someone they trusted. Someone who had access to your family. Your husband. I closed my eyes. In my head, I saw Huayan at my parents' house last spring festival, sitting on our old couch, laughing at my father's jokes. He'd brought expensive tea and talked about his business. My mother had beamed at him like he was the son she'd never had. Huayan could have asked them, I said. They would have done anything he asked. They thought he was a good match for me. A rich husband who'd take care of their daughter, but he wasn't taking care of you. Zhang Ji said quietly. He was using you. I opened my eyes, stared at the ledger. The numbers swam a little, but I blinked them back into focus. Can you prove all this? I asked. Can you tie the mortgage to Zhou Nian's account and to Huayan's involvement? Zhang Ji smiled for the first time. It wasn't a muet-arm smile. It was the kind of smile a cat gives a mouse just before it pounces. I already have, she said. The mortgage application required signatures from both your parents. Their fingerprints are on the document. The first transfer out went directly to Zhou Nian's account on the same day the mortgage cleared. And the account used to transfer the monthly interest payments. That account is linked to your mother's phone, which she uses for online banking. I've got timestamps, IP addresses, and at least 3 transactions where your mother's phone logged in at the same time as the same IP address that your husband's office uses. I blinked. You got his office IP address. I've got the ISP logs from their corporate network. Public hurt took me about 4 hours to pull, she shrugged. I'm good at what I do. Shen Mo sat back down. Lin, with this evidence, we can build a case for misappropriation of MA Riedel assets. Your husband used family relationships to divert funds to Arden Extrem Riedel Partner. The court will treat that severely. What about my parents? That's more complicated. They were co-conspirators? Whether they understood the full scope or not, they signed the mortgage documents. They transferred the money. They took your monthly payments to cover the interest. If they were acting under your husband's direction, and I suspect they were, they might avoid criminal charges, but they'll have to answer for the civil liability. I pressed my palms against my eyes. The pressure made colors bloom behind my eyelids. When I lowered my hands, the colors stayed, swirling in the edges of my vision. My mother called me the other night, I said. She asked me to come home. She said my father's blood pressure was up. Your father's health might be relevant. Shen Mo said ruefully. But it doesn't change the money. I know. I swallowed. I'm trying to figure out how much they knew. Whether they knew they were helping him cheat on me, or whether they thought they were just helping my brother. Zhang Ji's expression softened, just a fraction. Can't tell you that, Ms. Lin. The documents don't record feelings, they only record numbers. I nodded. That was fair, that was honest. I'd come to Shen Mo's office expecting facts, not Can I see the mortgage application? I asked. Zhang Ji pulled up a scanned copy on her laptop and pushed it toward me. I leaned in and read through the lines. My mother's signature was at the bottom, neat and precise, exactly the way she signed all her documents. My father's was above hers, shakier, the way his handwriting had been since his hands star-rotted trembling a few years ago. But there, in the purpose section, someone had written in a different hand, business expansion and children's education. The writing wasn't my mother's, it wasn't my father's, it was touche R. The kind of handwriting someone learned in a business school. Who wrote that? I asked. Zhang Ji zoomed in. I was hoping you'd notice. That's not your mother's handwriting, is it? I read it to the samples you gave me. Her signature on the joint account, her receipts from the grocery store. She writes rounded letters. This is pointy. I read at the angle R handwriting, the crisp strokes, the way this in business slanted up a R. I've seen this before, I said slowly. My husband's handwriting. He signs a lot of documents for work. I've seen his notes on contract revisions. It's the same. Shen Mo and Zhang Ji exchanged a look. Your husband personally wrote the purpose statement on the mortgage application, Zhang Ji said. That means he knew. He was involved from the beginning. I sat back in my chair. The room felt too hot, too small, too bright. I reached for the glass of water Zhang Ji had set out earlier and drank half of it in one go. Can we use that? I asked. Can we prove he wrote it? Zhang Ji nodded. I've already flagged it. We can get a handwriting expert, or we can cross-reference with his corporate contracts. He has a distinctive S and a Pete crossbar R. It'll hold up in court. Shen Mo folded his hands on the table. Lin, I need to ask you, are you ready to move forward? Because once I file this, there's no taking it back. Your husband will be named in court documents. Your PA rents will be named. Zhou Nian will be named. This will be public. I thought about Huine's laugh in the hallway, my mother's casual voice on the phone, the photo of Zhou Nian on the yacht, champagne, looking like the world belonged to her. I've been quiet my whole life, I said. I didn't ask questions, I didn't make waves. I sent money home every month and smiled at my husband's PA rise and told myself I was being a good daughter, a good person. I looked up at Shen Mo. I'm done being good. He nodded once, then turned to Zhang Ji. Start drafting the complaint. I want it ready by Friday. Zhang Ji snapped her laptop shut. It'll be done by Thursday. She left the room with the same brisk energy she'd arrived with, and I was alone with Shen Mo in the conference room. He didn't say anything for a long time. He just sat there, watching me with that unreadable face. I broke. What? You're not crying, he said. Should I be? Most people do. When they realize how much they were betrayed, they cry first, then get angry. Then Ma, you skipped the first step. I thought about that. He was right. I hadn't cried, not when I saw the bank balance, not when I saw the yacht photo, not even when I saw my PA rents, signatures on a document that proved they'd been complicit in the whole mess. I don't have time to cry, I said. I have to get my money back. Shen Mo almost smiled. Almost. The corner of his mouth twitched, and then flattened again. You're gonna need a place to stay, Lam, more permanent than your friend's couch. I'll figure it out. I know a real estate agent. She handles rentals and purchases, no questions asked. I can give you her number. I looked at him. His suit was a different shade of gray today, but the tie was still silver, the same silver, like he owned exactly one tie and wore it every day. You always help your clients find housing. Only the ones who know how to read a balance sheet. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, sliding it across the table. Her name is Wenli. Tell her I sent you. I took the card. It was simple white, with a phone number and an email address. No title, no firm name. Thank you, I said. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. Don't thank me yet. The de parade starts when the court documents get served. He walked me to the elevator. The doors opened and I stepped inside, turning to face him. Mr. Shen, I said. What happens if they fight back? He looked at me with that same flat expression. But there was a flicker of something underneath it. Something I couldn't quite name. Then we fight harder, he said. That's what I do. The elevator doors closed between us. That night, I lay on Su Qiao's couch again. Rang at the card Shen Mo had given me. Wenli real estate, no questions asked. I didn't call her, not yet, but I tucked the card into my wallet, next to the photo of the yacht, next to my mother's last text message. Come home soon. Your father misses you. I texted back. I'll come this weekend. She replied within seconds. Good, we'll talk. I didn't reply to that. I didn't know what to say. I still didn't know how much she knew, how much she'd chosen to ignore, how much she'd done willingly. But I was going to find out. The weekend couldn't come soon enough. I went home on Saturday. Not to Hoyne's penthouse. That wasn't home anymore, maybe never had been, but to my parents' house, the small neat, two-bedroom appartement in the older PA of the city where I'd grown up, where I'd learned to ride a bike in the courtyard, and where my mother had taught me to fold dumplings and where my father had taken me to the park on Sundays. I stood outside the door for a full minute before I knocked. My mother opened it. She looked smaller than I remembered, her hair more gray than brown. Her shoulders hunched like she was carrying something heavy. She didn't smile when she saw me. She just stepped back and let me in. My father was in the living room, sitting in his old room chair. The television was off for once. He looked at me over the rim of his reading glasses, then looked down at his hands. My mother said, "I'll make tea." I sat on the couch. The same couch I'd slept on as a child when I was sick, the same scratchy fabric, the same lumpy cushions. Everything was the same except the air between us, which had gone sour and strange. My mother came back with 3 cups of tea. She set one in front of me, one in front of my father, and one on the table for herself. Then she sat across from me and folded her hands in her lap. "Your lawyer sent us a letter," she said, "about the mortgage." I took a sip of tea. It was too hot, but I drank it anyway. "Then I know. We weren't trying to hurt you," my father said. His voice was raspier than usual, weaker. "Listen. When Hoyne came to us and said he needed help with a business investment, he made it sound so easy. He said it was temporary. He said your brother would benefit too. That the investment would grow and we could all share in it. He said he needed it for a project." My mother added, "A new branch of his company, something about marketing expansion." He was so convincing. "So you mortgaged your house for him?" "I thought I was helping my daughter." My mother said, "I thought I was helping you. He was your husband. He was family." I set my teacup down. "Did he mention Jonian?" My parents exchanged a look, that quick, guilty glance that told me everything I needed to know. "He said she was a partner," my father said slowly, "a business partner. He said she was managing the investment." "Did you know she was his girlfriend?" The word landed like a slap. My mother flinched. My father stared at me with wide, confused eyes. He repeated, "What are you talking about?" "He's been having an affair with her for years, maybe before we even got married. The money you gave him, the mortgage money, it all went to her. Every single yuan." My mother's mouth opened and closed. She looked like a fish gasping out of water. "No, that can't be right. He told us it was a business. He showed us documents. He had a whole presentation." He lied. My father's hands started trembling. He set his teacup down with a clatter, tea sloshing over the rim. "We didn't know. We would never have agreed if we'd known." "Wouldn't you?" I looked at my mother. "Ma, you told me on the phone that you took my savings because my brother needed an engagement fund. You told me it was family. You didn't even ask." She looked away. "That was different." "How? How was it different?" "Because your brother needed it. Because he's your brother. Because you have so much more than him." Her voice cracked. One, you live in a penthouse. You wear nice clothes, you have a good job. Your brother has nothing. I just wanted to help him get started." "You wanted to help him get started with money that came from a mortgage you took out to help my husband's mistress." I said it slowly, giving each word its own weight. "That's what happened, Ma. That's the truth." She started crying, not loud sobs but quiet, hitching tears that leaked down her cheeks and dripped onto her folded hands. My father reached over and took her hand, his own fingers shaking. "We're old. He's stupid." We wanted to believe him. He came to us with such confidence, such certainty. He said it was for the family, for all of us. Did you ever stop to ask me? Did you ever think maybe I should know about a mortgage on my parents' house? About 160,000 yuan being borrowed in my name? Because I'm on that mortgage, I'm the guarantor. My mother's head snapped up. "What?" "When you signed the mortgage documents, your bank required a guarantor. They wanted proof of income for the whole family. So you put my name on the application. My tax records, you used my pay stubs to qualify." My mother stared at me. "We didn't know," she whispered. "Hoyne said it was just paperwork. He said he needed your name because of the interest rate. He said it wouldn't affect you. Except it did. It's affecting me now." It's affecting everything I'm trying to do to get my life back. My father dropped my mother's hand and pressed his palms to his face. His shoulders shook. I let them sit with it. I didn't comfort them. I didn't reach out. I sat on the couch I'd grown up on, sipping tea that had gone cold, watching the two people who'd raised me fall apart. Finally, my mother spoke. Her voice was raw, scraped clean of everything but a desperate, shaky honesty. What do you want us to do, Wanwan? I want you to tell the truth. Under oath, I need you to testify about what Huiyin told you and what he asked you to do. Your father's health? She stay rotted. His health will be fine. I'll drive him to the doctor myself, but I need this. I need you to stand up and say what happened. My mother nodded slowly, then almost involuntarily, she reached across the table and took my hand. Her palm was warm and rough, the hand of a woman who'd cooked a million meals and scrubbed a million dishes. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. I was so busy protecting your brother, I forgot to protect you. I squeezed her hand once, then let go. Can you stay? My mother asked. For dinner. I'll make your favorite. Not tonight, I said. I have a meeting. I didn't tell her the meeting was with Shen Mo, or that we were finalizing the court filing. I didn't tell her that by Monday morning, Huiyin would be served with divorce papers and a demand for asset forfeiture. I didn't tell her that Zhou Nian would also be named in the suit, or that the court would likely freeze her accounts within 48 hours. I left them in the living room, my mother crying quietly, my father still staring at his hands. I closed the door behind me and walked out into the courtyard, where I'd once ridden my first bike. The air was cool and clean. I stood there for a moment, breathing it in, feeling the weight of the last few days settle on my shoulders like a coat. I'd finally ran to CA Rai. My phone buzzed. Shenmo meeting, he said. Now, I'm on my way. I got there 20 minutes later. The office was dark except for the conference room, where a single lamp cast a pool of yellow light across the table. Zhang Ji was there, her laptop open. Pages of documents spread around her like a fan. Shenmo stood by the window, phone to his ear, his back to the door. He hung up as I walked in. Sit, he said. I sat. Zhang Ji pushed a document toward me. They're counter-suing. What? Your husband's legal team filed a countersuit this afternoon. They're claiming you attempted to defraud the Mama Rydal estate by concealing personal assets. They're arguing that your savings account was actually a trust fund established by your PA rents, and the withdrawal was legitimate. I read at the paper. That's insane. That's completely made up. Of course it is. But it gives us something to fight. Zhang Ji's eyes were gleaming. They've also subpoenaed your employment records. They're trying to prove you have hidden income streams. I work for a media company. I have one salary, one bank account. My boss can show them everything. Exactly. Zhang Ji leaned back in her chair. They're desperate. They're throwing mud at the wall to see what sticks. Shen Mo turned from the window. Lin, here's the reality. Your husband has money. He has lawyers. He has the resources to drag this out for months. He's going to try to wear you down. I don't get worn down, I said. Good. Because you're going to need to be sharp. We've scheduled the preliminary hearing for Thursday. Zhou Nian's lawyers have also filed a motion to quash your subpoena for her financial records. She doesn't want people to see where the money came from. Exactly. But I've already got copies of everything. She can quash all she wants. The bank records are already in evidence. Shen Mo pulled out a chair and sat across from me. Lin, I need to ask you one more time. Are you ready for this to get ugly? I thought about my mother's face when I'd said the word mistress. I thought about my father's trembling hands. I thought about the cold, precise handwriting on the mortgage application, and the way Huiyin's voice had sounded on the phone that night. Laughing, convinced I would never fight back. I've been pretty ugly inside for a while now, I said. It's about time I let it out. Shen Mo held my gaze for a long moment. Then he reached across the table and put a folder in front of me. Read this tonight. It's the full evidence packet. Every transaction, every email, every document we've pulled tomorrow. You're going to be deposed by their lawyers. They're going to try to trip you up, get you to contradict yourself, make you look unstable. I want you to be so prep-read that nothing they ask surprises you. I opened the folder. It was thick, maybe 200 pages. I flipped through the first few. Bank statements, mortgage documents, IP law, Emails between Huayan and Zhou Nian that I'd never seen before. Where did you get these? I asked, pointing at the emails. Her personal server. She thought it was secure. It wasn't, Ji smiled. I told you I was good. I looked at the email dates. They went back 4 years. Before I'd met Huayan, before we'd even started dating. They were full of plan, affection, insight. Zhou Nian had been his PA Rotner long before I entered the picture. I'd been the distraction, the cover. The convenient wife who would finance their real relationship. I read one of the emails out loud. When can we stop pretending? I'm tired of being the other one. You said it would only take a year. His reply, be patient, her family has property. Once we get access, we'll have everything we need. My hands were shaking by the time I finished. This is the evidence, I said. This proves everything. Shenmo nodded. It proves he married you with the intent to defraud. It proves he and Zhou Nian were in a long-term relationship. It proves your PA rents were used as pawns in their scheme. I closed the folder and pressed my palms flat against its surface. Then let's go to court, I said. I'm done waiting. Zhang Ji packed up her laptop and Shenmo stood to walk me out, in the hallway. He paused and looked at me with something that might have been concern, if I didn't know him better. Tomorrow, they're going to ask you about your mental health, about your marriage, about your PA rents. They'll try to make you angry, and then they'll use that anger against you. I won't give them the satisfaction. I hope not. He stepped back and buttoned his jacket. Get some. You'll need it. I walked out of the building and stood on the sidewalk, the evidence folder tucked under my arm. The night air was cold and sheer. The kind of cold that made you feel alive. I called Suqiao. It's happening, I said. Thursday. They're gonna fight me on everything. Ryusuke read. I thought about it. The answer surprised me. No, I said. I'm rat night. I sat on Suqiao's couch and read every single page of that folder. I read until my eyes burned and the words started to blur. I read until I knew the evidence better than Huayan's lawyers did. And when I finally closed the folder, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt calm. Thursday was going to come, and I was going to win. Thursday morning arrived like a held breath finally released. I woke up at 5, showered, and put on the suit I'd bought 2 days ago. Navy blue. Simple. The kind of thing that said serious without screaming desperate. Suqiao sat on the edge of the bathtub and watched me do my makeup with the concentration of a general overseeing troop deployment. You're not nervous, she observed. I'm not. I applied mascara with a steady hand. I think I used up all my nerves somewhere between the bank statement and the mortgage documents. You're going to destroy them. I'm going to tell the truth. I capped the mascara and turned to face her. Basically, the courthouse was a gray building that looked like it had been designed by someone who hated joy. I walked through the metal detectors with Zhang Ji at my side, Shenmo already inside ruing with the opposing counsel about some procedural detail I didn't understand. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, benches that were probably designed to be uncomfortable so no one would fall asleep. I sat at the table Mog, petitioner, and read at the empty chair where Huayan would be sitting. He walked in 5 minutes later. He looked exactly the same as he always did. Tailored suit, perfect. That easy smile that had once made my heart skip. But there was something different in his eyes today, something sharper. He didn't look at me. He walked straight to his table and sat down next to his lawyer, a man in an expensive suit who had the look of a RK who'd eaten well for years. Zhou Nian walked in behind them. She was wearing a cream colored dress and heels that probably cost more than my entire outfit. She also didn't look at me. But I saw her hand brush against Huayan's shoulder as she passed, a casual gesture that said more than any document ever could. I looked away. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The formalities began. Shenmo presented our case first. He laid out the evidence with the precision of a surgeon, walking the judge through every transaction, every email, every signature. He showed the mortgage application with Huayan's handwriting in the purpose section. He showed the bank transfers from my PA rents account directly into Zhou Nian's personal checking. He showed the IP logs that connected Huayan's office to the mortgage application and to the communications with Zhou Nian. I watched the judge's expression shift from professional neutrality to something rodder. She was a woman in her late 50s, gray haircut, reading glasses perched on her nose. She asked questions about dates and amounts, and Shen Mo answered every single one with calm authority. Then it was their turn. Huayan's lawyer stood up and started his cross-examination. He came at me first, trying to prove that I'd known about the mortgage, that I'd consented to everything, that I was just a bitter wife looking for revenge. Ms. Lin, you lived in your PA rent's house for 6 years after you started working. Lass. And during those 6 years, did you ever pay Mumraket rent? No. But you made monthly payments to your parents, 2,000 yuan. Monthly? They called it living expenses. And you never objected? I trusted my PA rents. The lawyer smiled. It was a thin, unpleasant smile. You trusted them enough to let them have access to your savings account. You voluntarily made them joint account holders. You knew they could withdraw money at any time, didn't you? Less. So when they withdrew the 230,000 yuan, it wasn't theft, it was a withdrawal from an account you'd willingly given them access to. Shen Mo stood up. The witness is being asked to characterize the legal definition of theft. The statute is clear. Unauthorized withdrawal from a joint account where the second party has no equitable interest is subject to civil restitution. The judge nodded. Rephrase. The lawyer's smile flickered. He tried again, but Shen Mo knocked down every question he threw. By the time the lawyer sat down, he looked like a man who'd run a marathon and finished dead last. Then Huayan took the stand. I watched him raise his hand and swear to tell the truth. He looked so comfortable, so confident. Like he'd been in courtrooms his whole life, which he had, I supposed. His family's business had been in litigation more times than I could count. Mr. Chen, his own lawyer, began. Did you ask your in-laws to mortgage their property? I asked for their advice. Huayan said smoothly. I was considering a business investment and wanted their input. I never directed them to take any action. Did you know about the mortgage? I found out later, my wife told me. Shen Mo stood up for cross-examination. He walked to the center of the courtroom and looked at Huayan with that same flat expression he'd used on me. Do you recognize this document? He slid a copy of the mortgage application to Huayan. Huayan glanced at it and shrugged. I've seen it before. Wu wrote the purpose statement. The PA about business expansion and children's education. Huayan's eyes flickered. Just for a second. I don't remember. Because you wrote it, didn't you? Objection. Huayan's lawyer called out, leading the witness. Withdrawn. Shen Mo said easily. Mr. Chen, I'll rephrase. Is that your handwriting on this document? Huayan read at the page. The courtroom was silent. Every person in that room waiting for his answer. I held my breath. No, he said finally. It's not mine. Shen Mo didn't blink. Then whose handwriting is it? I don't know. One of the bank's employees, maybe. Someone who filled out the form for my in-laws. Shen Mo nodded slowly, like that was exactly what he'd expected. He walked back to our table and picked up a second document. A corporate contract signed by Huayan just 3 months earlier. Would you mind writing your name on this blank paper? He slid a fresh sheet toward the witness stand, just so the court can see your signature. Huayan hesitated. His lawyer stood up, but the judge overruled the objection before he could speak. Write your name. Chen. Huayan picked up the pen and wrote his signature. The same sharpies, the same angled, the same crisp, business, school handwriting that matched the mortgage application exactly. Shen Mo held both documents up for the judge to see. The handwriting on the mortgage application matches the witness's signature. The angles, the spacing, the letter formations, they were identical, including a specific flourish on the capital B that the witness uses in every document I've reviewed. Huayan's face went white. The courtroom erupted in whispered murmurs. The judge tapped her gavel and restored order. Do you have any further evidence to present, Mr. Shen? She actually, yes, Your Honor. Shen Mo nodded at Zhang Ji, who handed him another folder. We have statements from the bank manager who processed the mortgage application. Chen personally accompanying his in-laws to the bank to sign the documents. I never went to the bank with them. Huayan said. His voice was tight now, no longer smooth. Your Honor, the bank manager is prepared to testify under oath. She also has a copy of the security footage from that day. Mr. Chen is clearly visible in the lobby. We are wearing a distinctive tie that matches one he's been photographed in on multiple occasions. Huayan's lawyer stood up. We need a recess. The judge looked at him for a long moment, then she nodded. 15 minutes. In the hallway, I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. You did good, Zhang Ji said. She was standing next to me, holding a bottle of water. That handwriting thing was beautiful. Shen Mo's been saving that for months. Shen Mo's been saving that. The first time he saw Huiyan's contract, he noticed the handwriting. He knew it would come in handy. Zhang Ji shrugged. That man doesn't miss anything. I took the water and drank half of it. Then I looked across the hallway and saw Huiyan standing near the water fountain. His face, his lawyer speaking rapidly into his EAR. He looked like a man who'd suddenly realized he was not the SMEM-AR test person in the room. He looked at me across the space between us, and for a second, I saw something in his eyes that I'd never seen before. FAR I walked back into the courtroom. The recess ended and the testimony resumed. Zhou Nian was called next. She walked to the stand with her head held high, but her smile was gone. She looked like a woman who'd realized the PA was over. Shen Mo questioned her for an hour. Every question was precise, every answer documented, every contradiction highlighted. By the time he was done, Zhou Nian had admitted to receiving money from my PA rents, admitted to knowing Huiyan before our marriage, and admitted that she'd been in a relationship with him for over 4 years. Yes, I knew he was married, she said, when Shen Mo asked the final question. But he told me the marriage was in name only. He said they didn't love each other. Did you ever verify that with his wife? No. Did you ever ask? No. Shen Mo sat down. I looked at Zhou Nian across the courtroom and felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. She wasn't the villain I'd imagined. She was just another person who'd believed his lies. The closing arraignments came next. Shen Mo spoke for 20 minutes, laying out every piece of evidence, every document, every testimony. He arrayed for full restitution of the mortgage funds, return of my saving, and a divorce settlement that would leave Huiyan with nothing but his own lies. Huiyan's lawyer argued that I was exaggerating, that the marriage had simply failed, that financial disagreements weren't fraud. The judge took an hour to deliberate. I sat in the empty courtroom, Su Qiao's hand in mine, waiting. Shen Mo sat next to me, his face unreadable as ever. Zhang Ji was typing something on her laptop, probably already planning the next step. Finally, the judge returned. In the matter of Lin Wan versus Chen Huiyan, she read from her notes. This court finds the petitioner's claims substantiated. The respondent is ordered to return all real assets transferred to third parties without petitioner's consent, including but not limited to funds transferred to Zhou Nian. The respondents in laws were ordered to return the 230,000 yuan withdrawn from petitioner's account, plus interest. The marriage is dissolved on grounds of fraud. Petitioner is rotted the apparotment in the South River District as rot of the settlement. I blinked. I didn't have an apparotment in the South River District. Shen Mo leaned over and whispered, I bought it for you. Through the real estate agent I recommended. It's in your name. Consider it an Raleigh victory gift. I still read at him. You bought me an apparotment. Technically, the court just gave it to you. I just fronted the money. He smiled, that almost smile I'd only seen once before. You can pay me back when the settlement clears. I walked out of the courtroom into the afternoon sunlight. The sky was blue, the air was warm, and somewhere behind me, Huiyan was probably trying to figure out how his life had fallen apart in less than an hour. Su Qiao hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. You did it, she said. You actually did it. I looked down at the piece of paper in my hand. The court order, the settlement, the truth, finally written down in black and white. I did it, I said. Zhou Ziang drove us back to Su Qiao's apparotment. On the way my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Hiraju-1. Your father and I are so proud of you. Can we come see you? I typed back. Next. I'll see okay. She sent a row of heart emojis. For the first time in years, I didn't feel angry when I saw them. I felt something softer. Something that might, with time, become forgiveness. The apparotment Shen Mo had bought for me was in a quiet neighborhood near the river. It was small, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, a kitchen that was really big enough for one person. But it was mine, no joint accounts, no hidden signatures, no one else's name on the deed. I moved in 3 days later. Su Qiao helped me paint the walls pale gray. Zhou Ziang built my bookshelves. On the first night, I sat on the floor eating takeout from a container and staring at the view of the river through the window. My phone buzzed again. Shenmo. The new sofa I ordered arrived. Want to see it? I smiled. Is this a cat call? Because I'm not into that. It's a cat call. Literally, I need a second opinion also. The cat is missing you. I laughed. The first real laugh I'd let out in weeks. Send me a photo. He sent a picture of his orange cat. Niangao. Sitting on the new sofa like it was her throne. Below it, he'd typed, she says you're invited to dinner. Saturday. Bring the leftover emotional baggage. I read at the screen for a long time. Then I typed back, I'll bring wine instead. He replied, I'll open the door. Outside the window, the river glittered under the moonlight. The city hummed its endless hum. And somewhere in my new appartement, with my new life stretching out in front of me, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt free. The money came back eventually, all of it. My PA rents paid what they owed. And the court garnished Huine's accounts for the rest. I never spoke to Zhou Nian again, but I saw her photo in the business news once. She'd left the country and rotted a consulting firm overseas. Huine's company took a hit. The scandal made the papers, and his boa Arta asked him to step down. I didn't read the articles. I didn't need to. I had my own life now. My own appartement, my own peace. And I had a Saturday dinner to look forward to. I stood up from the floor, stretched, and walked to the window. The city was beautiful from up here. All those lights, all those lives, all those stories happening at once. Mine was finally mine again. I smiled at my reflection in the glass. Not bad, Lin Wan, I said. Not bad at all. Then I picked up my phone and texted Shenmo a question about what kind of wine he liked. He replied in 3 seconds, read expensive, and don't bring the cheap stuff. I laughed again. That night I slept in my own bed, in my own apartment, with my own name on the lease. And for the first time in as long as I could remember, I didn't dream about any of them. I dreamed about the river instead, and in the dream, it was bright and wide and full of light. The end. If you enjoyed Lin Wan's journey, please subscribe and leave a review. There's a bonus chapter coming soon. A New Year's dinner where Shenmo's cat steals the show and Lin Wan's mother finally runs to use a smume art phone. Click that subscribe button so you don't miss it. See you next time.